There's a story most of us are told about the end of our lives. It's a quiet story, one we don't like to talk about at dinner parties. It's the story of the final decade, the slow fade. The years where our world begins to shrink. First, we give up the long hikes. Then, we can't lift the heavy groceries. Then, we can't get up from the floor without help. Our bodies become a cage of limitations, our minds a fog of forgotten names. We become patients, defined not by our passions or our wisdom, but by our collection of prescriptions. We've come to accept this as inevitable. It's a natural price to pay for a long life. But what if that story is wrong? What if the final 10, 15, even 20 years of your life weren't a slow, painful decline, but a vibrant, active, joyful victory lap? What if you could play with your great-grandchildren on the floor, travel the world, and carry your own bags at 90? What if the mind remained sharp, the body remained capable, and the spirit remained free? What if the cliff we all imagine at the end of our path isn't a cliff at all? What if it's just a shadow, and we've been walking towards it our entire lives simply because no one ever told us we could change direction? This isn't a fantasy. This is a question of engineering, and it's the most important question you will ever ask yourself. This journey we're about to take together is guided by a book called Outlive, written by a doctor who is also an engineer, a relentless self-experimenter, and a man who has looked into the abyss of his own mortality and decided to fight back with a strategy. His name is Dr. Peter Attia. This isn't a book review, and this isn't a simple summary of health tips. To treat it that way would be to miss the point entirely. This is an invitation to fundamentally rewrite the story of your own life. Stop being a passive passenger in your own health and become the driver, the architect, the strategist of your own longevity. It's a book that doesn't just give you information. It changes the way you see time itself. It's about shifting from medicine to point zero, the reactive practice of treating diseases after they appear, to what Attia calls medicine 3.0, a proactive, personalized, and relentless pursuit of Healthspan. Not just adding years to your life, but adding life to your years. Over the next hour, we will walk through this new world, chapter by chapter. We'll begin by learning a new way to think. We'll explore the run-up to the cliff. We'll define medicine 3.0, and we'll learn how to set an objective, a strategy, and tactics. Then we will meet the four silent killers, what Attia calls the Four Horsemen. We will stare down cardiovascular disease. We'll understand the modern fight against cancer. We will walk the labyrinth of the mind to confront neurodegeneration, and we will learn about the slow burn of metabolic dysfunction. And finally, we will learn the tactics to tame them. We'll train for something called the Centenarian Decathlon. We'll find stability. We'll navigate the confusing world of nutrition. We'll rediscover the superpower of sleep. And we will confront the most challenging frontier of all, our own emotional health. This is more than a book. It's a blueprint for a revolution in how we live. So, take a deep breath, settle in. Let's begin this journey together. One chapter, one powerful idea at a time. Chapter 1, the run-up to the cliff. Imagine that jogger. They feel good. They get their checkups. Her doctor says their cholesterol is fine, their blood pressure is okay for their age. They are doing everything they're supposed to do, according to the rule book of modern medicine. They are following the path, but the path has a destination they can't see. This is the core metaphor of our current medical system, what Attia calls medicine 2.0. It's a system that is brilliant at pulling you back from the edge of the cliff. If you have a heart attack, the paramedics, the ER doctors, the surgeons, they are heroes. They can save your life. Medicine 2.0 is a master of crisis, but it does almost nothing to stop you from running towards the cliff in the first place. This chapter asks a simple, terrifying question. Why do we wait? Why do we wait for the diagnosis for the heart attack, the cancer, the diabetes, the Alzheimer's before we take aggressive action? The disease didn't start the day it was diagnosed. It started decades earlier. A slow, silent, relentless process. Atherosclerosis, the root of heart disease, can begin in our teens and 20s. Attia argues that by the time we have symptoms, we're already in a desperate fight. We're at the edge of the cliff. The goal of a truly long and healthy life isn't to get better at surviving the fall. It's to slow down, turn around, and start walking in the other direction, long before the cliff is even in sight. This isn't about blaming doctors. It's about recognizing the limitations of a system designed in a different era for different problems. We've conquered so many of the fast killers' infections, trauma that we are now living long enough to fall prey to the slow ones, the chronic diseases of aging, and for those, Medicine 2.0's playbook is tragically insufficient. It's a strategy for a game we are no longer playing. Chapter 2, Medicine 3.0. If Medicine 2.0 is the practice of waiting for the fire to start and then trying to put it out, Medicine 3.0 is the art of fire prevention. It's a fundamental shift in perspective. From reactive to proactive, from standardized to personalized, from delaying death to optimizing life, this is the heart of Attia's philosophy. Medicine 3.0 doesn't ask, how do we treat this disease? It asks, how do we prevent this person from ever getting this disease in the first place? It's a different set of tools, instead of just standard cholesterol panels. It uses advanced lipidology to look at the number and size of lipoprotein particles, the actual vehicles that carry cholesterol and cause plaques. Instead of just a fasting glucose test, it uses continuous glucose monitors to see how your body really responds to food in real time. It's about gathering as much data as possible, as early as possible, to understand your unique risks. Think of it like this. Medicine 2.0 is like driving your car until the engine explodes, then calling a tow truck. Medicine 3.0 is like having a dashboard full of precise sensors, telling you your exact tire pressure, your oil quality, your engine temperature, allowing you to perform targeted maintenance long before anything goes wrong. You are the driver. You have the data. You have the control. This requires a change from us, the patient. We can no longer be passive recipients of care. We have to become the CEO of our own health. We must be curious, ask questions, and partner with our doctors to build a long-term strategy. It's a bigger commitment, yes. But the payoff isn't just a few extra years of frail existence. Payoff is a completely different kind of old age. Chapter 3. Objective Strategy, Tactics. A goal without a plan is just a wish. We all want to be healthy when we're old. But what does that actually mean? This chapter is where the philosophy becomes a plan. Attia introduces a framework that is simple, powerful, and borrowed from the world of military planning. Objective, strategy, tactics. First, the objective. This is the most important part, and it has to be deeply personal. It's not, I want to live to 100. It's, what do I want to be able to do in the last decade of my life? This is where Attia introduces a brilliant concept, the Centenarian decathlon. He asks you to make a list of 10 physical tasks that are most important to you. Your list might include picking up a 30-pound grandchild, getting up off the floor using only one hand, carrying 2 bags of groceries up 3 flights of stairs, hiking a moderately difficult 1.5-mile trail, having the energy and stability to play a game you love. This is your objective. It's specific, emotional, and tangible. It's your why. Next, the strategy. Your strategy is the overarching approach you will take to achieve that objective. Attia's strategy is simple. Prevent or delay the onset of the Four Horsemen, the chronic diseases that will rob you of your ability to complete your decathlon. Finally, the tactics. These are the specific things you do.
The how.
This is your exercise regimen, your nutritional approach, your sleep habits, the supplements you take, the medical screenings you undergo. The rest of this book, and the rest of our journey today, is about those tactics. But without the objective, the tactics are meaningless. Exercising just to exercise is a chore, but training so you can lift your grandchild into the air, that's not a chore, that's an act of love. Chapter 4. The Ticker. Taming Cardiovascular Disease. We now arrive at the lair of the first and most prolific of the Four Horsemen. Atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Heart attacks and strokes. It's the #1 killer on the planet. And we have been thinking about it all wrong. The common story is about cholesterol. Good HDL, bad LDL. Keep the bad stuff low. But this, Attia argues, is like judging a traffic jam by only counting the number of red cars. It's an incomplete picture. The real villain isn't cholesterol itself, it's a necessary molecule for life. The villain is the process of that cholesterol getting into your artery walls and starting a chain reaction of inflammation that builds plaque. The key driver of this is a specific particle called apolipoprotein B, or APBB, AHOBPB. Every single particle that can cause atherosclerosis has one copy of APOB on it. So, the most important question isn't what is my LDL cholesterol level, but how many of these APOB-carrying particles do I have floating around in my bloodstream? This is a number you can measure with a simple blood test, yet it's not standard in most checkups. This is a profound shift. It moves the target from a vague concept like bad cholesterol to a precise, measurable number of potentially harmful particles. And the lower you can drive that number, starting as early as possible, the longer you can delay the onset of this disease. For Attia, this isn't a decade-long project. It's a lifelong one. He argues we should be as aggressive in lowering APOB in our 40s as a cardiologist would be after we've had a heart attack. That is medicine 3.0 in action. Don't wait for the fire. Don't even wait for the smoke. Intervene at the first sign of heat. Chapter 5. The Big C. How to starve poison and weaken cancer. The second horseman is perhaps the most feared. Cancer. It feels like a bolt from the blue, a terrible lottery. But science is revealing a different story. Cancer is not purely a genetic disease of bad luck. It is also, in many ways, a metabolic one. Every cancer begins with a damaged cell, but a damaged cell doesn't automatically become a deadly tumor. For it to grow and thrive, it needs two things. It needs to evade our body's own defense system, our immune surveillance, and it needs fuel to grow. This is where our power lies. While we can't control every random mutation, we can profoundly influence the environment in which a potential cancer cell finds itself. The key insight is that many cancer cells are ravenous for glucose. They are sugar addicts. By improving our metabolic health, by keeping our blood sugar stable and our insulin levels low, we can create an environment that is less hospitable to cancer growth. Can, in a sense, begin to starve it. The second part of the strategy is bolstering our immune system. A healthy, well-rested, well-nourished body is better at immune surveillance. It's better at finding and destroying those rogue cells before they can ever become a threat. And the final crucial tactic is early detection. Not just the standard mammograms or colonoscopies, but the frontier of liquid biopsies. Blood tests that can potentially detect the faint signals of cancer years before it would form a detectable tumor. The fight against cancer is shifting. It's from a brutal war waged on established tumors to a quiet, lifelong strategy of prevention and surveillance, making our bodies an infertile ground for the seeds of cancer to grow. Chapter 6. The Labyrinth of the Mind. Confronting Alzheimer's disease. Of all the horsemen, this one may be the cruelest. It's the one that doesn't just take the body, but takes the self. Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases. For decades, the story of Alzheimer's was dominated by two proteins, amyloid plaques and tau tangles. The focus was on creating drugs to clear these proteins from the brain, a strategy that has, so far, yielded heartbreakingly little success. Attia suggests we need to zoom out. Instead of seeing Alzheimer's as a disease of the brain, we should see it as the brain being the final victim of a systemic metabolic breakdown. He provocatively calls Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. Why? Because a central feature of an Alzheimer's-afflicted brain is impaired glucose metabolism. The brain cells struggle to use their primary fuel source, glucose. They are, in essence, starving in the midst of plenty. This energy crisis leads to chronic inflammation, cellular stress, and ultimately cell death. The plaques and tangles may be a consequence of this fire, not the spark that started it. This changes everything. If Alzheimer's is largely a metabolic problem, then the tools to fight it are the same tools we use to fight metabolic disease elsewhere in the body. It means that what you eat, how you exercise, and how you sleep are not just good for your heart and your waistline. They are the front line of defense for your brain. Exercise, in particular, is like a miracle drug for the brain. It improves blood flow, reduces inflammation, and stimulates the release of a hormone called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is like fertilizer for your neurons. The war for your mind is not won in old age. It's won in your 30s, 40s, and 50s by building a metabolically flexible, resilient, and well-nourished brain that can withstand the challenges of aging. Chapter 7. Sugar Rush, Slow Burn, the Metabolic Horseman. The fourth horseman is not a single disease, but a spectrum of dysfunction that creates the environment for the other three to thrive. This is metabolic dysfunction. It includes insulin resistance, fatty liver disease, and its most famous manifestation, type 2 diabetes. This horseman is the puppet master. Think of your body's metabolism like an orchestra. When it's in tune, it seamlessly switches between burning carbohydrates for quick energy and burning fat for steady fuel. It's flexible. But the modern diet, filled with processed foods and sugar, is like a conductor demanding the orchestra play only one note over and over again, the high, loud note of glucose. Your body responds by pumping out more and more insulin to manage this constant flood of sugar. Over time, your cells become deaf to insulin's signal. This is insulin resistance. It's the beginning of the end for metabolic health. Your body has to shout louder and louder to get the same job done, and this high insulin state promotes inflammation, fat storage, and high blood pressure. It creates the perfect storm for heart disease. It fuels cancer cells. It starves the brain. The antidote is to restore metabolic flexibility. This is where the tactics of nutrition come into play. It's not about a specific dogma like keto or veganism. It's but about the underlying principles. Controlling your blood glucose, lowering your insulin levels, and avoiding the constant deluge of processed carbohydrates and sugars that have broken our collective metabolism. It's about teaching your body to play the whole symphony once again. Chapter 8. The Body Politic. We pause here for a moment. You've just stared into the face of the four great destroyers of life. It's a lot to take in. It can feel overwhelming, even clinical. So this short, powerful chapter asks why? Why go to all this trouble? And the answer is devastatingly simple. It's not just about us. Our health is not a solo act. It is a promise to the people we love. A promise that we will be there, present, and capable for as long as possible. It's a promise to our children that we won't be a burden, but a source of joy and wisdom. It's a promise to our partners that we can share a full and rich life together right to the very end. It's a promise to ourselves that we can continue to pursue our passions, to learn, to create, to contribute. To pursue Healthspan is an act of profound generosity. It is the ultimate investment in our relationships and in our own potential. This is the fuel that must drive our strategy. This is the why that will get us out of bed to exercise when we're tired and help us say no to the dessert when it's tempting. We are not just fighting for more years. We are fighting for more life, for more love, for more time to be who we are. Chapter 9 and 10. The Centenarian Decathlon. Welcome to the gymnasium of your future self. If there is one drug that is more powerful, more potent, and has more benefits for longevity than any other, it is this: exercise. But Attia argues we are doing it wrong. We go to the gym to look better, or to burn calories. We should be going to the gym to build a body that will not fail us. We should be training for the Centenarian Decathlon. This requires a radical shift in how we think about fitness. It's not about aesthetics. It's about function. It's not about how much you can bench press. It's about what that strength allows you to do in the real world for the rest of your life. Attia breaks exercise down into 4 essential pillars. You must train all 4. First, strength. This is the foundation. Muscle mass is your metabolic sink. It disposes of glucose. It's your pension plan for your later years. As you age, you naturally lose muscle, a condition called sarcopenia. Fighting this is a non-negotiable. This means lifting heavy things, squats, deadlifts, pressing, pulling. Building a bedrock of strength is the single most important thing you can do. Second, aerobic efficiency. This is your all-day engine. Attia is a huge proponent of Zone 2 training. This is low-intensity cardio where you can still hold a conversation done for longer durations. It trains your mitochondria, the power plants in your cells, to become incredibly efficient at using fat for fuel. A strong zone to base is what allows you to hike for hours, play with your kids without getting winded, and have boundless energy. Third, anaerobic performance, or VO2 max. This is your peak capacity, your all-out, top-end power. Think of it as the maximum power your engine can produce. A high VO2 max is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. You train this with short, intense intervals. It's hard, but it's crucial. It's what you need when you have to suddenly sprint across the street or run up a flight of stairs. And the final pillar, which we'll explore next, is the most important and the most ignored. Chapter 11 and 12. The Gospel of Stability. What good is a powerful engine in a car with a broken chassis and wobbly wheels? This is the role of the fourth and most foundational pillar of exercise: stability. Stability is your body's subconscious ability to manage force. It's your internal gyroscope. It's what keeps your knee from buckling when you land from a jump, your spine protected when you lift something heavy, and your balance steady when you trip on a curb. Most injuries, Attia argues, are not failures of strength. They are failures of stability. And an injury is the fastest way to derail your entire longevity plan. An older person who breaks a hip has a shockingly high mortality rate in the following year. They lose their independence, their muscle mass wastes away, and their world collapses. So how do you train stability? You go back to the beginning. You learn to move like a baby. Attia is a huge proponent of techniques like DNS, which reteaches the brain and body the fundamental patterns of movement that we were all born with, but have forgotten by sitting in chairs our whole lives. It's about breathing from your diaphragm. It's about building rotational strength in your core. It's about ensuring that every joint is doing its proper job so that movement is distributed safely across the entire system. This isn't glamorous. It's slow, detailed, mindful work. But it is the ultimate form of injury prevention. Strength, cardio, and peak performance are the gas pedal. Stability is the brakes, the steering, and the suspension. You cannot afford to drive without them. Chapter 13 and 14. The Crisis of Abundance in My Nutritional Playbook. We now enter the most confusing, dogmatic, and emotionally charged territory in all of health: nutrition. Attia cuts through the noise with a clear, engineering-based approach. He says there is no one best diet for everyone. The question is, what is the best diet for you to achieve your goals? He gives us 3 levers we can pull to change our nutrition. Caloric restriction, eating less food overall. It works, but can be very difficult to sustain. Dietary restriction, restricting certain types of food like the carbohydrates in a ketogenic diet or the animal products in a vegan diet. Time restriction, restricting when you eat, like in time-restricted feeding or intermittent fasting. You can pull 1, 2, or all 3 of these levers. The goal is to find the combination that works for your body, your psychology, and your life. But across any strategy, Attia emphasizes a few non-negotiables. First, get enough protein. This is critical for maintaining that precious muscle mass we worked so hard to build. He argues that most people, especially as they age, are chronically under-eating protein. He advocates for a significantly higher intake than standard guidelines suggest. Second, focus on optimizing for metabolic health. This generally means reducing your intake of refined carbohydrates, sugars, and processed foods that spike your glucose and insulin. And third, personalize. Use data. A continuous glucose monitor can be a revolutionary tool, showing you in real time how a banana versus a handful of berries affects your blood sugar. Become your own N-of-1 experiment. The goal isn't to follow a rigid ideology. It's to use these nutritional tools to build a metabolically healthy body that is resilient, strong, and well-fueled for the long game. Chapter 15. The Awakening. The Superpower of Sleep. There is a legal, free, and powerful performance-enhancing drug that can improve your memory, boost your immune system, stabilize your mood, and dramatically lower your risk of every single one of the Four Horsemen. And most of us are chronically underdosing. That drug is sleep. For so long, we've treated sleep as a luxury, thing to be sacrificed at the altar of productivity. Attia argues this is an act of biological suicide. Sleep is not passive downtime. It is an active, critical process of repair and restoration. During deep sleep, your brain literally cleans itself, clears out the metabolic debris that accumulates during the day, including the very amyloid proteins linked to Alzheimer's. Your body repairs muscle tissue. It consolidates memories. It regulates the hormones that control your appetite, like ghrelin and leptin. Even a single night of poor sleep can make you more insulin resistant the next day. Chronic sleep deprivation is a direct pathway to metabolic dysfunction, a weakened immune system, and cognitive decline. Attia provides a playbook for improving sleep. Consistency. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even weekends. Darkness. Make your room as dark as a cave. Blackout curtains, no electronics. Cold. Your body temperature needs to drop to initiate sleep. Keep your bedroom cool. Wind down. Create a relaxing pre-bed routine. No screens, no stressful work. Read a book. meditate, take a warm bath, avoid alcohol. While it might make you feel sleepy, alcohol fragments your sleep and destroys its quality, especially REM sleep. Treating your sleep with the same seriousness as your diet and exercise is not optional. It is the foundation upon which all other health efforts are built. Chapter 16. Work in Progress. The Importance of Emotional Health. We arrive now at the final and perhaps most difficult chapter. And it's here that the book transcends from a science manual into a work of profound human wisdom. Peter Attia, the brilliant doctor, the data-driven engineer, the man obsessed with optimization, reveals his own deep struggle. He talks about a lifetime of chasing perfection, of being driven by a relentless need to achieve, and how this drive manifested as anger, impatience, and an inability to be present with the people he loved most. He had optimized his body for a long life, but he was creating an emotional reality that was unbearable to live in. And he asks the most important question in the entire book. What is the point of engineering a body that will live to be 100 if you are miserable inside it? You can have perfect metabolic health, incredible strength, and pristine arteries. But if you are crippled by unresolved trauma, anxiety, or depression, you do not have Healthspan. The emotional horseman can be the most devastating of all. This chapter is a raw, vulnerable call to take our emotional and mental health as seriously as our physical health. To see therapy not as a sign of weakness, but as an essential tool for self-understanding and growth. To do the hard work of looking inward, of confronting our own demons, of learning to manage our emotional responses. Because a long life is not the goal, a good long life is the goal. And a good life is one that is not just physically capable, but emotionally free. It is a life where we are present, connected, and at peace with ourselves. This, Attia admits, is the hardest work of all. It is a work in progress for him, as it is for all of us. Chapter 17. The Long Game. And so, we reach the end of the manual and the beginning of our own long game. Its final chapter is about putting it all together. It's about taking these massive, intimidating concepts and translating them into a daily, weekly, monthly practice. It's not about becoming perfect overnight. It's about starting. Start by defining your centenarian decathlon. Write it down. Make it real. Start by finding a doctor who will be your partner in Medicine 3.0. By educating your current doctor on what you want to achieve. Start by adding one. Zone 2 workout a week. Start by adding. More protein to your breakfast? Start by turning off your phone an hour before bed. Start by admitting that your emotional health needs attention too. The path to a long, vibrant life is not a sprint. It's an ultramarathon. There will be setbacks. There will be imperfect days. The key is not perfection, but persistence. It's about building a system, a set of habits, a philosophy that guides your choices, big and small. It's about deciding that your future self is worth fighting for, starting today. We've walked a long path together through these ideas. We've faced down the horsemen, we've learned a new language of health, and we've confronted the deep connection between our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. Maybe you came to this video because you're scared. Scared of repeating the story you saw play out with your parents or grandparents. Scared of what the future holds. Maybe you came here because you're hopeful, because you believe there has to be a better way, and you're looking for a map. Or maybe you're just tired. Tired of feeling weak, or foggy, or of being a passenger in your own life. Whatever brought you here, I hope you feel this one thing above all else. Empowerment. Outlive is not a book about fear. It's a book about agency. It's a declaration that your future is not written in stone. It is a dynamic process that you can influence, starting with your very next choice. The choice to go for a walk. The choice to eat a real meal. The choice to go to sleep on time. The choice to be kinder to yourself. The true gift of this philosophy isn't just the promise of a better 90-year-old self. It's the gift of a better today. When you start training for stability, you move with more confidence right now. When you balance your blood sugar, you have more energy this afternoon. When you prioritize your emotional health, your relationships improve this week. You don't have to wait decades to feel the benefits. The process of living for tomorrow makes today infinitely richer. This journey doesn't have to end here. In fact, it's only just beginning. If these ideas resonated with you, let's continue the conversation in the comments below. Share which chapter, which idea spoke to you the most. Was it the Centenarian Decathlon, the gospel of stability, or the vulnerable truth about emotional health? And if you'd like to join me on more journeys like this one, exploring the ideas that can help us live deeper, more meaningful lives, consider subscribing and becoming a part of this community. Thank you for walking this path with me. Now go live your life. All of it.